post completion of the test design, so like we need to map each and every statement. And how we are going to map each and every statement in the sense with the help of the annotations. So the annotations are provided by the Cucumber framework. So which means we should inject the knowledge of the Cucumber. So how we are going to inject the knowledge of the Cucumber in the sense with the help of the pom.xml file. So like we are having the dependency section, and under which we have added the Cucumber dependency, or we can say like we have added the artifact called as an Cucumber Java. And what is the version we are using? In the sense we are using 7.15. So this is the latest version which was available. So just we have navigated to the Maven repo, and from the Maven repo we have searched with the keyword called as an Cucumber, and post that like we have copy paste the respective dependency. So whenever you are injecting any new dependency, so make sure you are doing the Maven reload. So one and only if you initiate the Maven reload, the respective dependency will be added up into your project, and you can utilize the knowledge of the respective dependency. So now we have injected the knowledge of Cucumber as well. So now the Cucumber framework provides annotation. So whenever you are going to map the given statement, so you should use the annotation called as an at given. So similar to when we will be using at when annotation, for the then we will be using at then annotation, and then for and we will be using at and annotations. So like basically in the step definition file, so which is nothing but inside the step definition file we are going to do the coding. So the coding is generally done in the class file. So I'm just creating the package for the step definition, and under which like I have created one class file called as an Salesforce code. So where I'm going to map the each and every statement with the help of the annotations. So let's say like this is the feature file which we have derived. So now let me just segregate the screen so that like you can able to understand much clear. Okay, so this is the thing like which we have created. So like we have the feature file, and how we are going to map in the sense, so in order to map the given statement we have used the annotation called as an at given, and under which like we have like inside the double quotes like we have provided the respective statement. So whenever the statement matches with the provided statement in the feature file, so then the immediate method below will be executed. So while defining any of the annotation, so we should create a immediate method below it. So how we are going to create the method in the sense with the help of the keyword called as in public void, and then you should give the method name. So in the later part like we will be discussing like what is meant by public and what is the need of the void, and you should provide the method name. So in similar way like we have mapped each and every statement. So, but if you notice, like while doing the test design, so we are injecting the test data. So, like while automating the scenario, so I'm injecting the test data called as an ABC and 123, and we are going to use this test data in our coding. So, let's say, like, let me just delete this when statement, whatever the statement we have mapped. So, how we will be mapping the when statement? So, obviously, right? So, we will be using the when annotation, and with the help of the when annotation, so like we are going to map the statement. So now let me just try to copy this particular statement. Okay, and whenever we copy paste the respective statement, immediately we should create a method. So I'm just creating the method. So public void like enter credentials. Okay, so likewise I'm just creating the method. So now the mapping is done. So if you look over the mapping, okay, so like in the line number 5, so if I just do the control click, I could able to see this particular line is mapped to this particular when annotation. But if you scroll to the down and then the line number 11, so we are having the same step. So which means like we are going to enter the same username and the password, but only difference is like we are going to change the test data. So even like if I change the test data to something, let's say the test data be the learn more. So now it will unmap the mapping. So because it will get unmapped, which means it will become an undefined. So why it is becoming undefined in the sense? Because generally the annotation will check the entire statement. So if it pick the unstatement, it will check the exact match. So it will check whether the unstatement provided in the feature file is exact match or not. One and only if it is exact match, it will execute the below method. But when come to the when statement, if you see, so like whenever it's check the exact match, so we have hard coded the username and we have hard coded the password. So which means this we call it as an dynamic data. So like the user can change the data at any time, and we should not consider this dynamic data while comparing the exact match of the statement. And how we can communicate to this the annotation in the sense, so wherever you are pausing the dynamic data, so like in the place of dynamic data, so you should use the open and close parentheses, and inside which you should provide a keyword called as a string, and the string should be completely in the lowercase. So if you use this syntax, it indicates it's a dynamic data. So now, so even like we are passing the password, so even the password is a dynamic data. So like I'm just making it as a string. Okay, so which indicates like whenever uh, it is going to compare, so it won't consider the dynamic data. So if you see now, after changing the syntax, so the line number 5 as well as the line number 11 will be mapped to the common when annotation called as an user enter the username. So here after username it won't compare the value. So reason is like we have specifically indicated it is a dynamic data, so it will skip the dynamic data, it won't compare the dynamic data. And after that, like it will compare the keyword, okay, we are having undone password, and post password, like we are again we are injecting the dynamic data, so it won't consider the dynamic data for an consideration. So whenever like we wish to change the test data, so now even I can change the test data from Aravind to Apple, and we won't face any issue. So which means like we are injecting two test data from the feature file. So like whatever the test data we are injecting, so it will pass, we need to pass to this particular method. So which means like we need to parameterize this method. So why we are parameterizing the method in the sense, like whenever the method is parameterized, it indicates like we are passing some input. So here we are passing two input, one we call it as an username and one we call it as an password, and we need to parameterize this method. And what data type we are passing in the sense, we are passing the string data. So like we can redesign this method to accept two string input. So we can parameterize this method to accept the two string value. So I can say I'm just giving this data type, and you can provide your own variable name. So let's say we are passing the username, and then like we are passing the password. So what happened? Whatever the dynamic value, so which we are passing in the feature file will be stored in this variable called as an username and the password. Because like here whatever the dynamic data we are injecting, so we are passing those dynamic data to the respective method. Okay, so we should always pass the dynamic data so that we can use the dynamic data in the send keys. So because like with the help of the send keys we are going to inject the input, so all the dynamic data should be inserted to the send keys. So like in order to pass the dynamic data, so we are parameterizing the method. So one and only the method is parameterized, it indicates like we are going to pass some input. So generally like whenever you are having any test data, so you should parameterize your method as well. So if you fail to parameterize the method, like it will throw an error. So now let me just delete it again, and let me create it from the suggestion. So yesterday like we have created from the suggestion, right? So let me just open that particular feature file and let me create it from the suggestions. So this is the line which we have created, right? So now if I create from the suggestion, okay, create a step definition file, and I'm just selecting the respective class file where we need to create. So if you notice, like, so during the auto creation, so it is following the same syntax. So wherever the dynamic value is present, so it is amending the syntax called as an open and close parenthesis of string. Okay, so that is the reason, like, uh, we didn't explicitly created it, so we have created a via like we have created from the suggestions. So even when we created from the suggestion, it follow the same rule. And if you notice, like, it has created the method, and in the respective method, so it has set two parameter, so that, like, we can pass two input, and the variable name they have given as arg0 and arg1, so we can change the variable name accordingly. Okay, so I can give the variable name as per our wish. And then, as I told, whenever we are creating from the suggestion, so the method name will be same that of the statement name, but we have few rules, like the name of the method name should not beyond the 15 character. So we can change the method name in very simple way. So, like, enter credit. Okay, so just like I'm renaming the method. And if you notice, like, close to that statement, you could see the number 2, and it indicates the feature file logo, which means, like, this annotation is mapped to two scenarios. Okay, so the first scenario we call it as an error message validation, and second scenario we called as an logit validation with the error message. Okay, so this is how, like, we will be mapping the, like, feature file to the step definition file. And once we map the respective statement, and under each and every statement we have created the method, and under each and every method we are going to insert the coding which we have done early.